And good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes, Goodman and Renck. Troy, how was your expensive meal in the Indianapolis airport yesterday as you were coming back from Denver from the Combine?
Yeah, I had Shake Shack, some hash browns, and like egg breakfast thing. It was fine. It was fine. It was a long day, and I got home like at 1:30.
Yeah.
So I would have been the equivalent of getting up yesterday at 4 a.m. and got home at 1:30 a.m. So up for 22 hours. I don't do as well with that. I was really good at that a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now, not so much.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm the same exact way. With that, I want to tell you about Roller Auction, the leader in Colorado auctions for over 50 years today. Planet Open Box is having an auction for factory return home goods, electronics, and general merchandise. The bidding has started at rollerauction.com. And don't forget to go to rollerauction.com to learn about all of their great upcoming auctions. And they always have tons of them every week. Get what you want at the price you want today at Roller Auction. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
Troy, the Avalanche beat Utah last night without Nathan MacKinnon, and the Nuggets put together one of the most impressive wins of the season, if not in years. The Nuggets beat the Celtics 104-83, giving up the fewest points since 2021. Bruce Brown said after the game, when we play like that, we are the best team in the league. You and I talked about it leading up to the game yesterday. Just how important can you put anything on this game and say, wow, this was a crucial win, but the way they won was desperately needed.
Exactly. It's the fashion. I was there last night, talked to Bruce Brown, talked to Strother. Jokic talked yesterday about just the importance of the defense. You know, that, again, we could say all this and then they could lay an egg against Oklahoma City and or Minnesota. They got two more national TV games coming up, Friday and then a matinee. But when you play like they did against Golden State, which was, I mean, between the Golden State game, the Chicago game, Charlotte, even the Cleveland loss, I mean, they've had 4 or 5 losses this year that were cringeworthy. Some of it was injury related, but to the point of style of play, Bruce Brown, I thought in the second quarter, the way he guarded Jaylen Brown changed the game. He was physical with him. He made him uncomfortable, kind of got the crowd into it. Because to say it was a great game by the Nuggets, it was not. They shot like crap.
Yeah.
They shot like crap for most of the game. But so did the Celtics. And see, the way the Nuggets win is they outscore everyone. And then that, we just keep saying that's not a recipe for the playoffs. And so it was very impressive the way physically they played defense. They rebounded. They got in transition based on defense. And Bruce Brown was part of that. It just the angles, the way they rebounded was part of it. But most encouraging to me, Eric, was the fact that Adelman, because he's honest with them. So was Malone. Malone's style had worn thin.
Right.
So it's like the same message, but a new messenger. They listened to it, appreciated it, and then they went out and applied it. And that's a good sign, especially because Gordon and Watson should be back next week. So a good sign that they play defense and encouraging that they won that way at home. These are two things that have to happen if they're going to be a contender again. Winning at home and playing more consistently on the defensive end.
Just because you hit a home run in a baseball game doesn't mean you're a home run hitter. Just because you play great defense in one game doesn't mean you are a great defensive team. I mean, the $64,000 question is, can they continue this? And we have seen no pattern of them playing great defensively night after night. To your point, they're going to get back Gordon and Watson soon, two pretty good defensive players, obviously. But that's the question. Can they continue to do this? Can they build on this? In football, the term is, can they stack days? They're playing a pretty good offensive team in Oklahoma City. If they go out there and throw up on their shirt, then I'm sorry, the Boston game means nothing.
Right. And And sometimes Adelman provides them cover that, hey, we can't have effort like that every night because it's an 82-game season. It's not realistic. He provides cover for him that way. And anyone that covers the NBA will tell you that. You're not going to get consistent defensive effort every night.
I would totally agree with that. It's the same thing in baseball. You play 162 games.
Right. You're not going to
You
beat your
can't go
best.
all out. In football, it's different because you play 17 games.
Right. And you don't have guaranteed contracts and you're a mercenary and can be cut. You're not going to get cut in the NBA.
Right.
You're not going to get cut in Major League Baseball. But again, it goes back to, can you be consistent most of the time defensively? And that's a mindset. As it's mindset, it's scheme, it's effort, all those things getting married. But the difference now is the schedule is shrinking. We're getting down to the final quarter of the season. So you can't keep saying we're going to turn it on, and then wait till the last 10 regular season games and say, okay, now we go. That gets dangerous. It just gets dangerous. So this is the time that Adelman has impressed upon him. Look at the standings. Look at what we're doing defensively. And it's not acceptable. Can we be better? Eric, the Spurs have won 10 in a row.
Right.
The Thunder are going to get healthy with SGA. Like, you can't keep playing the way they have. I think they're now 5-6, the Nuggets, over their last 11. Got to get hot. You got to get hot at home. Make sure you're a 3-4 seed. The last thing you want to do is fall into that 6-7 area, and then nobody's winning a championship out of that spot. You're just not this year in the West.
Phil Jackson used to have something called the 40-20 rule. What that means is if you win 40 games before you lose 20 games, you have an excellent chance to win a championship. Since 1980, teams that have accomplished the 40-20 rule, 40 wins before 20 losses, have won 91% of the NBA championships over the last 46 years.
Yeah, that's fascinating stuff.
There are only 3 teams in the league that have done that. And it shouldn't come as a surprise. It is Oklahoma City, Detroit, and the Spurs. The question is, can the Nuggets, defy that rule with their defense if they play the way you hope they can play?
Yeah, and their argument would be the reason we didn't get to that mark is because we were hurt, because we didn't have our guys.
That's a fair point.
That is fair, but you got to go prove it. You can't just keep telling me what it would have been.
Right.
And Gordon, I got to see him stay healthy. If this was 2 years ago,
Yeah.
I have no issue. I'd be like, he's coming back. He's fine. He's going to play his ass off. I just don't know if he can stay healthy now. And I'll say that Adelman admitted last night that he overplayed guys to get wins earlier in the season, and he took accountability for kind of overplaying some guys when they were injured to try to get some wins. And he didn't specifically say Gordon, but that's the game. That's the name that came out when he played him on a back-to-back, and he was the only starter out there, and he gets hurt, and he's been out another 4.5, 5 weeks. My understanding of being out there last night is that he could probably play right now.
Yeah.
They are just slow playing this to try to, hey, we've got to get you through the end of the season. I know you want to be out there. I don't know if Watson can play now. They're both really close. I would expect to see them both next week. But we got to see it now. Again, there's just been so many leg issues, unfortunately, with Aaron. We got to see it. He's 31. He's an aging player now. Can he get back to the player he was? Because they were 8-2 when all the starting lineup was together. Can they be that team? If they can, it's going to be a blast. If they look anything defensively like they look for most of the season, they're going to be out in the second round.
For the most part, very few stories that I hear of that break make me go, really? Wow. And even though this particular story is probably not high up on the list of Broncos fans, and for Buffs fans, I think this is a significant story. But when you look at the scope of the state of Colorado, it is more our professional teams than our college teams. I was driving in the car when I heard the Broncos are set to hire now former Colorado defensive coordinator Robert Livingston to be its defensive passing game coordinator. Is this a bigger deal for the Broncos or an enormous deal for the Buffs?
It's a problem for the Buffs. Deion Sanders is entering his 4th year. He's going to have his 3rd defensive coordinator and his 3rd offensive coordinator.
Correct.
That's not great. That's too much. That's just too much instability in that short of time, and it affects your ability to implement schemes. It affects everything. It affects the development of players. Frankly, when you're constantly changing the coaches, it can be a bigger deal for the Broncos if Vance Joseph leaves after next season
Correct.
and Robert Livingston becomes the defensive coordinator, because he's taking over the same position that Jim Leonard had.
Right.
And Jim Leonard went to the Bills. Again, I was always told they were a little more lukewarm on Leonard here than people thought, that it wasn't fait complete that he was going to be the D coordinator if Vance left. But now you have someone in Livingston who had 6 or 7 years with the Bengals, is a defensive back coach. Now he's been a coordinator in college. He's not exactly rolling out that resume in terms of the stats, but he 2 years ago, I thought he had a really good year. Last year, he didn't have a great year, and their talent was, it was a mess up front. But anyway, it could be a bigger story for the Broncos if he ends up their coordinator after next season. Right now, it's a bigger story for CU, don't you think, Eric? I mean, we're going to have the spring game here in a few weeks,
Right.
and you're replacing your defensive coordinator? Under no circumstances is that good for any program.
Well, one of the reasons why Livingston is going to the Broncos is because of his connection with Vance Joseph.
Correct.
They coached together. They worked together in Cincinnati. Looking at Livingston, I'm going to give you some chronology. I talked to a lot of people yesterday very close to the program. Livingston was happy there after his first year on the job, in which the defense played well. My understanding is Livingston was offered a significant job to leave Colorado, a significant job. And he turned it down out of loyalty to Deion Sanders. This past season, their relationship, from what I've been told, was frayed a little bit. And now, so much for that loyalty. He was loyal after year one. And quite frankly, I'm not going to be as strong to say Livingston wanted to get the fuck out of there, but he did not want to be there anymore. And that's why he left. My question is, how did it go from tremendous loyalty, turning down a significant job in college football, because I've been told this guy wants to be a college football coach, to a year later, he wants out? And what is going on with, and you look, to me, he and Sean Lewis are pretty much the same guy. They're both about 40 years old, considered to be really bright football minds, up and comers. And honestly, Deion has run both of them out of town.
Well, like in Lewis's case, they butted heads over how Deion wanted him to use Shedeur, where Sean, my understanding was, we got to run the ball more. We got to protect him better. We can't throw 50 times
Correct.
a game. We're going to get him killed. And it felt like there was, I don't care, we need to get him his stats. We're going to do it this way because it's better for him. And Lewis became frustrated and basically said, well, have someone else call plays. And here comes Pat Shurmur. Shurmur basically would call whatever Shedeur wanted.
Right.
So that was part of it. With Livingston, initially, you're right. I think they did click. He's a younger guy, the energy. There was noticeable improvement in Livingston's first year from, I think it was Kelly, right, that he preceded. They were terrible before he got there. And they looked functional, and the effort and the pressure. Why do I think it could sour? My belief, this is just hypothetical, is Deion is much more willing to point fingers at guys and throw guys under the bus. And you can do that as a coach when you've got the cachet of national championships or conference championships. And Deion doesn't have that as a coach. I'm at CU. I don't want to talk about where he was. Jackson State, that's a different animal. But if it's always your coach's fault, in hindsight, you know how this is. It's like we should go hire this guy. He's great. And then 2 months in, I'm like, I don't know what Eric was thinking. It's like, really, dude, we were on the same page.
Right.
And now it feels like we're not, and you're making it out to be I was the guy that pushed for it. And so those are kind of the delicacies of coaching. It's like, are we all in together? Are we all pulling from the same end of the rope? And it feels like when they've hit adversity up there, that the leader distanced himself from the pack. The pack starts to feel like, wait, yeah, I need to look in the mirror, but come on now.
Well, here, let's look at the Broncos before Sean Payton got there. And then from this winning the Super Bowl to when Sean Payton got there. What was the biggest problem with that organization besides not having a quarterback? Continuity. Continuity.
Yeah, it was lack of the ownership drama, GM drama, coaching drama, assistant coaching drama, and no quarterback.
But it all ties into continuity.
Yeah.
Too many head coaches, too many offensive coordinators, too many defensive coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
The Buffs are now the poster child of lack of continuity in this town. 3 defensive coordinators in 4 years, to your point. 3 offensive coordinators in 4 years, to your point. And a overhaul every single year of that roster because of the transfer portal. How in the world are you supposed to win games that way? I don't know.
You only can with great talent.
For as smart as Deion Sanders is, what does this guy not fucking understand about football, about running a team? He was a great player, but clearly he has no clue on how to run a team, because in business or in sports, if you don't have continuity and you've got a revolving door with your leaders, I can promise you, you will fail spectacularly.
Well, the issue he runs into is that when you're going to change this dramatically in leadership positions, that you would need the old school roster of freshmen, sophomores, and juniors who've been in the program for 1, 2, and 3 years. So your process of how you've coached these guys can withstand the coaching change, because we're bringing in someone to implement Eric's system. He coached under Eric. He knows Eric. It's seamless. None of that ever happens. It is like, out of the blue, here comes this guy. We're going to run this. Out of the blue. And that's what happened with the Broncos. Like, we're going to change to this scheme. We're going to be a power running team. No, we're going to be a wide zone. And then it affects how you draft. It affects how you recruit. That's the other thing. You recruit to the strengths of a coordinator. He leaves. Now you've got this, I always say, the island of misfit toys.
Yeah.
You got talent, but it doesn't coalesce because he was assigned under this coach. He was signed under this coach. That one coordinator, that guy loved him. I mean, this is what happens. And so how do you overcome that? Only if you're insanely talented. And that only happens like in basketball, where 1 or 2 players can define a program. In football, you need a lot of guys. And so it's very clear this kind of instability does not lend itself to winning. And when you don't have a Travis Hunter and you don't have a Shedeur Sanders to camouflage more blemishes than Revlon, this is what starts to happen. And some of these guys, I know it's crazy, need to be coached. They need to develop. And when the leaders keep leaving by meeting their coordinators, it's hard to do. You don't practice like you do in the NFL. They don't have the same aptitude of NFL players who show them once and they get it. So again, it's always felt like Deion needed a veteran coach by his side to kind of be like more, give some guardrails. And that's more even on game day. Now we're starting to see it in other parts of the program that, like, man, this doesn't look like it's going to be successful. Again, he could overcome it. But I look at their schedule, I look at their recruiting class, I look at their talent, and I'm like, that is a lot of challenges that you created before you play another team that wants to beat you.
Is it fair to say that one reason why John Embry didn't last very long is because when he put together his coaching staff, yes, some of those guys certainly had credentials, but he wanted to hire his friends.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
That's the same thing with Deion Sanders. He's hiring his buddies. He's hiring some of his hanger-oners. He's giving his buddy jobs and giving him big salaries to boot. What I'll ask you is, Rick George gave Deion Sanders a contract extension before the start of this past season, after Shedeur left, after Travis Hunter left. After this upcoming season, Deion Sanders has 3 years left on his deal. I honestly look at this deal like I look at the Rockies deal with Chris Bryant. Rick George negotiated against himself. Deion Sanders had no offers, no prospects, and gave him a huge deal. My question is, Rick, why? Why would you do that, knowing that Deion Sanders has been nothing as a head coach without Shedeur and Travis Hunter? What the hell, Rick, were you thinking?
They were thinking of what it looked like with Carl Durrell, that the program was irrelevant. And he was boxed in with the timing that in the contract is when Dion could open up to renegotiate his deal. He's coming off the one good season. The enthusiasm for him is still there, not to what it was when he was first hired. And he got boxed in to where if you let him go into that, you don't think Dion would be a little high maintenance? He was already playing the game, trying to get offers from Jerry Jones, trying to curry favor with the Raiders, and it was never serious. No NFL team was going to hire him. He created the buzz around it that he could go, and I don't know that Rick got caught up in the buzz of it, but he just got caught up in him. What is the alternative if we don't give it to him? Where are we? The problem is the extension should have been a modest one. You now made him one of the top 10 coaches in college football. They went from, he's making $5 million, perfect. For all the money he's bringing in, it's unbelievable. Once you pay him $10 million, Eric, you're saying he's a great coach. We haven't seen evidence of that. We've seen evidence of a marketer, how to bring attention, how to create a brand. We haven't seen, because the next transition of all that is, okay, now can you go coach? And Rick got boxed in. Rick's whole end of his career was attached to Dion. So you ask, why would he do it? In some ways, it was like, why did the Broncos give Russell Wilson a contract? When they traded for him, the idea was always there they were going to pay him. They were never going to not pay him when ownership got in place, the new ownership. With Dion, if he ever did something that got him back on track, it was like they're going to pay him. The problem is they had to pay him top of the market. He's not a top of the market coach right now. And to your point, his staff can't fill it in. And then throw in, unfortunately, the complications of cancer, being sick, not being on campus. So what do you need in those cases? A great infrastructure. Who's in charge when you're gone? We don't really ever know that. And we know now the guys who would normally be in charge are your coordinators. They're gone. They leave every year. See, that's the issue. And so, I'm not going to sit here and rip Rick. They had no choice. But once you gave him the keys to the athletic department, this is what you deal. It's why when they hired the new AD, I said the first line of business is to get Dion to do business differently. He can't have the unlimited credit card. He can't do whatever he wants. You can't win 4 games and be a top 10 paid coach. You can't. Anywhere else, if he did that again this year, he would be fired in college football. And so that's what's the problem here is the way he's doing business doesn't work for CU anymore. If he wins 4 games this year, I would think he goes into that next year with, if we're not 8-9 wins, we're going to have to look at this and move on. Because you can't keep paying him that and have you win 4 games and not even go to a crappy bowl. The math doesn't math.
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but those of us who've been in the media for a long time have been told privately what's going on there. And there's a lot of stuff going on there. And if this stuff got exposed, it'd be really bad. I think that the problem up at CU is, number one, everybody in the athletic department and the Board of Regents and the Chancellor are afraid of him. And I would say Rick George was too. Now, I will throw it on the media as well. If the Rocky Mountain News was around like it was 20 years ago, and we had unbelievable journalists who really wanted to break stories and dig into things, and that's not the media landscape today, I'm not so sure Deion Sanders would be the head coach right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was in that media poll in the early 90s with B.G. Brooks, John Henderson, Craig Harper, Neil Welk. I mean, columnists were there every day. I mean, they had 6-7 beat writers that were some of the best in the country. And it was very similar to how the Broncos beat was covered.
Yep. So
that when you have that many media around, almost nothing goes uncovered because there's just so many people. And yeah, the landscape, to put it politely, the landscape has changed. I mean, Deion has in his contract who he can talk to and who he can say and dictate who he talks to. It's in his contract.
The only legitimate media member that routinely goes to Buffs press conferences is Sean Keeler, and he was essentially blackballed. But everybody else there are a bunch of fanboys. No one will ever ask a tough question.
Arnie Stapleton of AP is good, but he's
Arnie's. I don't know how much Arnie goes up there. If Arnie,
I don't know how many.
Right,
he's there a chunk. He and Pat Graham.
But I'm talking about beat guys.
You're right. Right.
We're there all the time, right? And you know what I'm talking about. I mean, I had multiple conversations yesterday with people close to the program. One person said to me, "What the fuck is going on with that program?" And this is a high-profile guy. Certainly not going to name who it is, but the guy holds a lot of credibility. And he's like, "What the hell is going on in that fourth floor up there with the money that Dion is giving away to his friends?" Right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's all starting to, sunlight is the best disinfectant. And as if he continues to lose, this business model is not going to work. It's not. It's not. And he's put the finger back on himself. He said this offseason on Radio Row that they fixed it. The roster's fixed. He said it after last season. It's on him. He's right. It is. No more excuses. This is just the reality of it. Once he became one of the top 10 highest paid coaches, you can't make excuses anymore for it. They got to be successful, and it's got to look a certain way. Yeah. That was what was so alarming, Eric, is the way it looked at Utah, the way it looked against U of A, the way it looked against Arizona State. It's non-competitive games. That's what's, and the fans leaving after halftime. Like these are the same things that got Jay Norvell fired at CSU. Your offense stinks, and the students leave at halftime. Like those are the things that get you fired in college football.
Coming up after the break, Kevin O'Connor had a really nice sit down with Calvin Booth. And when you hear what Calvin had to say, you might go, really? Really, Calvin? That's next. Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Black Hawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Maverick Tremor truck or nearly $25,000 in cash the weekend of May 16th. Earn daily entries with every locked-up jackpot or by redeeming points on your player card. You can also earn a chance to win during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
And welcome back. Hot Takes, Goodman and Renck. Want to tell you about Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. I've said to you, everybody has their favorite barbecue place. And most barbecue, if not all barbecue places, they serve the same things. They have ribs. They have brisket. They have pulled pork. What makes Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew different is this. They create things out of barbecue. So here's a good example of that. How many times, Troy, have you walked into a barbecue place that serves a wild salmon Reuben? Okay, it's kind of a twist on the original Reuben. It's wild salmon with sauerkraut, melted Swiss, house-made tartar sauce, served on thick marble rye. They have other things that are just totally unique that you don't see on other barbecue menus. The Heart Attack. 2 jalapeno cheddar biscuits topped with bacon, pulled pork, shredded cheese, 2 over easy eggs, and a house-made sausage gravy. You can go for barbecue if you want to, or you can go to upscale barbecue. That is Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. You can find them in Denver, Estes Park, Longmont, Lyons, and Greeley. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Well, good for Kevin O'Connor for doing a sit-down interview with former Nuggets GM Calvin Booth, and Booth believes 4 factors cost him his job. Number 1, when you have Jokic, everything gets taken for granted, kind of like with Phil Jackson. Well, he had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, or he had Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. That I understand. Second, he believes he was fired because of the friction with Malone and Booth, although he says it wasn't as bad as everybody is saying it is. Third, Booth believes he doesn't, place the organization, and this is true, doesn't believe the organization run by the Cronkies value front office executives like other organizations do, certainly in terms of salary. But this is the thing that has everybody talking. Booth said he thinks he just made the job look too easy because he won a title in his first year on the job. You take exception with any of that? You're on mute.
The last part, 100%. It was fascinating, and I'd had a few conversations with Calvin when I returned to the Post, and I found him. I think he's a good basketball mind, especially has some scouting acumen. But if he wanted to get back into basketball, wouldn't you show a little humility, Eric? You got fired with 3 games left in a season, unprecedented. And your basically answers, I made it look too easy. And how about throwing Tim Conley a bone? I'm sorry, was he Betty Crocker and he built that roster from scratch? I mean, he walked into a pretty nice situation. He got a ring, and that'll never be forgotten. It was the first. But come on now. The Indianapolis 500, what were they on? Like about 5 laps remaining? Like, come on. He acts like he put together the whole team. Like Tim Conley had said that. You almost say, hey, okay, he built it up from scratch and a couple different. I mean, Calvin, what are you saying? I do agree with they don't value financially their executives, but their process works. Yeah. They've won titles everywhere they own teams. So you can't say it's inherently wrong. They somehow win titles, whether it's NBA titles or NFL Super Bowls. They win. And I will say this. The thing with Malone, he is discounting. Is he basically in person, Eric, we were always professional. Our interactions in front of other people were professional. It doesn't matter if they know behind doors. You're at each other's throats all the time. You don't think in a business you feel that tension? Like that is really, really mischaracterizing how bad it had become. If you think those two got fired with 3 games remaining because it was just okay and they weren't getting along, give me a break. It was toxic. The environment was Booth, you were picking sides. They had created that through their own paranoia. And it's unfortunate because both men are really talented. They both deserve credit for the championship. But you know this, Eric. You've covered pro sports as long as I have. When you win titles, you always say it doesn't matter who gets credit. For those two, it did. And it ended up undermining them. But Calvin, Eric, did you think he made it look too easy at every deadline when they never did anything those last 2 years? Did you think he made it look too easy when he couldn't trade Michael Porter Jr.? Was he making the job look easy? I didn't think he was. I thought he was making it look like they were going to try to win a title 3 in 8 years instead of back-to-back. He was looking at the Spurs as the model, not the modern-day NBA.
He made a bunch of mistakes, but all GMs make mistakes.
Right.
All of them do. But truthfully, if I know a lot of people are mad at Calvin Booth because I think honestly more people side with Michael Malone. However, the Nuggets do not win a championship if Booth does not bring in KCP and Bruce Brown. They desperately needed D and threes, and they got 2 of them. Do you believe they win a title without those 2 guys? Because I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
That's what
so.
They needed perimeter defense and 3-point shooters, and they got 2 of them.
He added frosting to the cake. He acts like he built the. I made the whole cake.
Troy, I agree with you. He started on third base. I'm with you.
Exactly. That's my issue.
I get it, but without those 2 off-season moves, the Nuggets don't make it home to a championship. Do you really believe if they don't make those moves, they win a title? Because I don't.
I know, but if you want to get back into the game, Eric, don't you show a little humility?
Oh, those are 2 totally separate points. And if he wants to get back into the game, no one's giving him the opportunity.
I mean, I think he should as a scout, but why wouldn't you just say, I made it look too easy by getting Brown and KCP? He's making it look like he made the whole job look easy. It's like, you did? Really? Like, I mean, I found it was cringeworthy at times. When I first saw the quote, I was like, holy crap. And it was worse when I listened to it.
Yeah.
He sounded even more arrogant listening to it, because sometimes, you know this, you and I talk about something in print, there's a permanency to it where you're like, oh my God, he said that? And it's usually way worse in print. When I listened to it, Eric, it was worse.
Right.
Didn't you think so?
Yes, absolutely. I listened to it a couple of times. I look at Booth's legacy as a GM like I look at John Elway's legacy as a general manager. There is the Peyton Manning era and the post-Peyton Manning era. And the Peyton Manning era was glorious. The post-Peyton Manning era was difficult to watch. But let's be fair. We can criticize him all day, and rightfully so, that he made it look too easy. However, it's not so much this is his argument. This is my argument supporting him. And I'm not suggesting he should still be here. However, he brought in 2 D and 3s. They won the championship because of those 2 moves. They were desperately missing perimeter shooting and perimeter defense. Number 2, he brought in Peyton Watson. And Peyton Watson has the potential to be a star in this league. Julian Strawther is turning into a player. We'll see what happens with Jalen Pickett. Every GM clearly makes mistakes. But when you look, he started on third base, but he's the one that got him home. And by the way, who was the one that traded Will Barton? Calvin Booth. Will Barton had to go, but Conley had a really good relationship with Will Barton, dating back to their days on the East Coast. Conley, in some ways, who I loved him, is somewhat like Dick Monfort. He builds a relationship, and he doesn't want to trade his guys, his friends. Calvin didn't give a shit. And that's what I respected about him. He did a lot of really good things. And now we are seeing, and you and I have talked about it in the past, what do you think Calvin is thinking every time Julian Strawther plays well or Peyton Watson plays well? 2 guys that he begged Malone to play.
I understand that. And I wrote this in a column that Calvin Booth, the GM, needed David Adelman, the coach. Calvin Booth, the GM, needs credit as a scout, especially for Watson, who averaged like 1 point a game at UCLA and looked like a giraffe on ice skates. There wasn't anyone that was watching him and go, that's a future star. Nobody was saying that. And he's got a chance to be a dude in the NBA now, to a point where everyone I was out there last night, like, they got to find a way to keep him. He's just too valuable. Now, that's Booth, 100%. But where I blame Booth is when you allow paranoia to take over your personality. He, as the GM, had the ear of ownership, specifically Josh Kroenke.
Kind of.
But he got offered the contract before the year. They offered to extend him before the season, or early in the season.
Troy, this is why I say kind of. Because when Josh Kroenke was there for the announcement of Booth and Malone being let go, Josh said, I wasn't around enough. I allowed this to happen. But Josh owned it. He was accountable that this got to an untenable situation because he wasn't physically there.
You're the GM.
What do you mean? That's what he said.
Yeah, because he needed an explanation of why you fire guys with 3 games left in the season. You're the GM. They offered you a contract. They did not offer Mike. They were souring on Mike. They wanted Booth back. They lowballed him, and it pissed him off.
Yes.
And he was tired of Malone. They were at odds over the young guys, clearly. Malone is an NFL coach in an NBA body of, we got to win every freaking night. We're up by 20. Get Jokic out there. We can't, it might go to 18 with 2 minutes left. That's a problem. My point is,
Adelman just admitted he had that problem in theory with Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, he did it one night. Mike did it every night.
I agree.
But we knew that.
Yep.
My point is, as the GM, you have the access to Josh way more than a coach does. You're in the front office with him. You needed to go to him and say, Josh, either get us in a room or you listen to me. This isn't working. And I believe 100% that they would have fired Malone and kept Booth. But he decided that I'm going to take this guy out with me. I'm going to bury him. He said this, I'm going to tit for tat on everything. He got caught up in it. And that's how you lose your job. You lose focus of, we're trying to win a championship. And it felt like at times last year, his goal was, I'm trying to get even with that guy and show my way works better than his. That's how you get fired, especially when the stakes are so high with Jokic. Now, again, Booth deserves credit for things. I'm not saying that. Right. The trade deadlines those last 2 years were comically bad and making a lot of excuses. But I just was surprised. And in some ways it was refreshing, honestly. But just the lack of humility that is, I made it look too easy. I'm like, really? Really? Like, okay, you can't throw Tim Connolly a bone. You can't say, hey, in hindsight, I allowed my paranoia to get the best of me. If I had to do it over again, I would have gone to Josh earlier. It's not Josh's job to babysit the GM and coach. I learned a lot from that. I would be better because you can look at my scouting. You can look at my eye for talent. I have that. There's some things with relationships I learned from. And so that's where that's where I was just surprised. If you want to work in the game again, that he didn't, he didn't say some of that, Eric? Just like hint at a little bit of self-awareness of how this thing all played out?
Listen, in the world of business, when you talk about leaders, there are a lot of different concepts that make a leader great. Cohesion, that's one thing, bringing everybody together. Alignment, everybody has to be aligned towards a certain goal. Clearly, Booth and Malone were not aligned.
Correct.
Mike Tyson famously said, and this has to do with alignment, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And you know what happened? Both Malone and Booth knocked each other out.
I know. It was just crazy. Usually in pro sports, there becomes a recognition of self-preservation.
Yeah.
I don't like that guy, but I love this freaking job. I'm going to figure out a way to get along with him and play nice. and they couldn't. It was like an old school 70s, 80s power struggle. You can't do it now in the modern media. You can't. Everything becomes public. Back in the day, you could. You kind of survive it, and it became too personal. Like you always tell kids, like when I'd coach them in playing, you want to play with emotion, but you can't be emotional. And those two, when it came to each other, got emotional, and they lost sight of the bigger goal for me.
Well, let me tell you something else that is lost sight of, because you've talked to plenty of people in the organization, as have I. Booth had the chutzpah to say on that podcast, if that's what you want to call it, and good on Kevin for getting that interview.
Great. Yeah.
Tremendous. He had the chutzpah to say, nobody heard our arguments. That was all done behind closed doors. Was that door made out of balsa wood? Because everybody I've talked to has told me everybody heard the screaming matches.
Exactly. That's where I was like, he's like, I was totally professional in our public interactions. I know, but we know, like when mom and dad are in the bedroom screaming at each other and the kids are at the dinner table eating, it's like, everything's fine, kids. Nothing to see here. It's like, okay. It's like, come on, man. You think we're all stupid? Like, yeah, when you see him in person, you didn't scream at him. Good for you.
Right.
It's like what they say about a party. If you ever see a couple arguing at a party, you're like, holy crap, what is it like behind closed doors?
Right.
You know, and it's like with them, we knew, because you would hear people saying they're at each other. We would hear it. So you can't pretend just because you shut the door, it didn't affect the whole building. And so, yeah. Again, I hope Calvin gets back into it as a scout. He earned it. He has an eye for talent. But unless he checks himself with some of the humility, he's going to have to get with somebody that really knows and trusts him, because if he's coming in fresh, they're going to be like, hey, what did you do? You know, they always ask you on a resume, what was something you happened at your last job you would do differently? If it is nothing, and I made it look too easy, that was my biggest problem. Yeah, I don't know that would land the next job.
That's kind of like going into a job interview and they say to you, what's your biggest flaw? And the answer is, I'm so dedicated to my work, I just work way too hard.
People hate me because I'm so beautiful.
Right. Well, no one's ever
Don't
said
hate me
that.
because I'm beautiful, Eric.
No one's ever said that about either of us. Trust
Don't
me.
hate me because I'm beautiful. It's jealous. What's your biggest problem? People are jealous at me because I'm the smartest person, the most handsome, and I'm the richest. And sometimes it creates friction. I'll be honest.
That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Renck. Make it the best possible day you can.